All right, in this video, we are going to talk about absolute value and absolute value inequalities. So, for the most part, this stuff is pretty new. So, you got a few things. We talk about a numerical expression is something that involves numbers with an operation, and an algebraic expression is the same thing, only involves letters. Okay, but what we need to talk about a little bit is absolute value. Now, in tradition, absolute value is basically the distance you are from zero. So when we do this, it's really kind of the same thing. The only thing that may change a little bit is how you graph. So with absolute value, I'll usually always have two answers. So on this first problem, it says the very first problem says what are the solutions of the absolute value of x plus 2 equals 9? Graph and check the solutions. So for this, what you want to do is you want to get the absolute value completely by itself. So you know what, let me back this up for a second. When you're talking about absolute value, when you're talking about like the absolute value of x, if I say the absolute value of x equals 8, there are two possible answers that can give you inside the absolute value. That is, x can be either 8 or x can be -8. So think of it not just the x, but think of it as like stuff in here is equal to 15. Well, the stuff in there is the only thing that can possibly get you 15, whose absolute value is either -15 or +15. One thing that can never happen is the absolute value is equal to some negative number. Okay, that's not possible ever. Okay, so there's no solution. So let's go back to our problem. Now, if we go back to this, here you have the absolute value of x plus 2 equals 9. What you want to do is you want to get the absolute value completely by itself. So to do that, what you want to do is subtract 2. All right, so now you got the absolute value of x is equal to 7. So ask yourself, what two values can I get that is 7 ticks from 0? Well, one is -7, or the other is +7. So when you do that, if you graph your solution, you got -7, open circle, or actually solid circle because it's equal to, and 7 right there. Those are your answers. Why don't you take a moment, pause the video, do the got it, and I'll see you back here in a minute. Remember, on the got it, it's the same thing. Um, Try to get the absolute value completely by itself. All right? All right, let's take a look at problem number 2. So, starting from 100 feet away, your friend skates towards you and then passes by you. She skates at a constant speed of 20 feet per second. Her distance d from you in feet after t seconds is given by. This is important. At what times is she 40 feet from you? So 40 feet, I'm going to circle that. The 40 feet probably goes in for the letter D. So if I put 40 in for the letter D, I get equals to the absolute value of 100 minus 20t. All right. Now, with this is interesting because if you can think of this absolute value in here as some stuff, if I take that away and I say 40 is equal to the absolute value of something, what are my two somethings? Well, my two somethings are -40 is equal to the stuff that's in there, right? So -40 is equal to question mark, or +40 is equal to question mark. But the question mark is taking place of the 100 minus 20t. So -40 is equal to 100 minus 20t, or 40 is equal to 100 minus 20t. So we got two little itty bitty problems we can solve. This one I'm going to subtract 100. With that, I get -60 equals -20t, so I can divide by -20. That gets me t is equal to 3. On this one, I'm going to subtract 100. I get -60 equals -20t divided by -2 divided by -2. I get t equals 3. Oops, I just realized I got two of the same answers because this isn't negative 60. This is negative 140 divided by negative 20 is 7. So my answers are between 7 and 3 seconds. So it is answer C. Sorry about that. Hey, you haven't got it. Why don't you try to do that one? It's pretty similar to this one, so give it a shot. You can do it. All right, moving on. Let's look at this one. If you look at this problem, you got 3 times the absolute value of 2z plus 9 plus 12 equals 10. What we want to do is we want to get this completely by itself. So I'm going to subtract 12. What I mean by this is I mean the absolute value. So I got 3 times the absolute value of 2z plus 9 equals negative 2. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And so I have the absolute value of 2z plus 9 is equal to negative 2/3. I can stop. You know why I can stop there? Because the absolute value of question mark equals a negative number. Is that possible? Nope. It is not. So this is no solution. So there's no solution there because you can't take the absolute value of a negative number. Okay? All right, let's get into a little more detailed stuff and talk about inequalities. When we talk about inequalities, there is a couple absolute value inequalities. There's a couple things that you have to be mindful of. Okay, the first thing that you have to be mindful of is when you take the absolute value when it's less than b. When it's less than b, it gives you an and situation. Okay, when it's less than b, it gives you an and situation. And so your graph, if you look at this, all right, so your graph is going to be something like this. Here's negative b, solid dot. Here's positive b, solid dot, and it's in between. And again, it's when it's less than. When it's greater than, this is an or situation. So then this is going to be like, here's negative b, open circle going that way. Here's positive b, open circle going that way, or vice, whatever, if it's inclusive. But the point being is the less than is the and the greater than is the or. So let's take a look at this one right here. All right, let's take a look at this one right here. What are the solutions of the absolute value of 8n is greater than or equal to 24? So what I'm going to do here is it's just like the other one. I'm going to set this up as if it were 8n is equal to negative 24. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say 8n is greater than or equal to negative, or 8n is greater than or equal to 24, or, and this is what's crazy, pay very close attention, 8n is less than or equal to negative 24. So you got to change the sign. It's kind of weird, but it happens. So when I divide by 8, I get n is greater than or equal to 3, or divide by 8, n is less than or equal to negative 3. Now the graph of this will look like this. Here's negative 3, here's positive 3, both are solid. This one goes that way, and that one goes that way. Again, when you have this, it's an or situation. You do that one, and don't forget to flip the sign. Is everybody okay with that? I hope. You have a got it. Why don't you go ahead and try to do the got it, and I'll see you back here in a minute. All right, number 5. A company makes boxes of crackers that should weigh 213 grams. A quality control expert selects boxes to weigh. Any box that varies from the weight by more than 5 grams is sent back. What is the range of allowable weights for a box of crackers? Now this one you could say, okay, well I'm just going to plus and minus the difference here, and you could, but here's what you have to think about. All right, you take the actual weight of the cracker box minus 213. All right, I'm going to take the absolute value because it can be, why I'm doing the absolute value is because it can be more or less. by 5 grams. So W minus 213 in the absolute value is less than or equal to 5, because the absolute means it could be, this could be a difference of -5 or +5. So what does that mean? That means that W minus 213 is less than or equal to W minus 13 is less than or equal to 5, but it's also sandwiched like this into -5, like that. All right, does that make sense? Because of this. This is the and situation. So now we got -5 is less than or equal to W minus 213 is less than or equal to 5. What this means that my weight of my cracker box was 213, but if I take 213 away from the actual box, it can either be less than 5 or greater than 5. I'm in that parameter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 213. I'm going to add 213. And I'm going to add 213. On the left side, the smallest weight it can be is 208. And on the heavy side, the most it can be is 218. Now, I know that you probably could have did this in your head by adding and subtracting 213, but I wanted to show you how you can use algebra as well, just in case you have a problem that involves that. I'm sure we'll touch on this in class soon. So make sure you go back and double check and you know these definitions. You know what an absolute value is? That's that one that looks like this. An equation, that's a equal sign with variables and numbers, and an inequality is greater than or less than or greater than or equal to or something of that nature. All right? So that is the bell. I look forward to seeing you in class real soon, and may the force be with you.